crash. The attack. My death. The crash. The attack. My death.
Mi sentite?
Even death is no escape. Each time I awake, this planet seems somehow different. As if changing. This world is becoming part of me. Infecting my mind. My memories. The longer I spend here, the more I can feel my sanity slip away.
Ah, ok, vabbè.
Lose
State of play, stream starting un'ora. Ci dobbiamo vedere un'ora di giochi che devono ancora uscire.
My only choice is to keep fighting. To keep looking for answers. My only hope is to break the cycle. Before the cycle breaks me.
Ah, eccolo qua. Resident Evil 8
Resident
Village.
Evil Village is coming May 7th, 2021, and to give us our first taste, the PS5 now has the Maiden demo, a small slice of what we can expect from the latest in the series. Built, of course, using an updated version of the RE engine, you'll get a taste of what you can expect for next-gen Resident Evil as you escape a dungeon, enter a creepy mansion, and face off against one of the daughters of the Countess. Seeing Village plans to feature a larger open
Fatelo anche
world
per
that design is
PS4,
considered a character in
grazie.
itself, multiple enemies you'll face off against in packs. I'm left feeling both excited, but it leaves me wondering how the engine will keep up after seeing the Maiden demo does indeed dip at points to sub 4K 60 FPS. I have some theories on how they'll address this, which I'll get to in just a moment. First, it should be noted that the demo focuses on the character they call the Maiden, but in Resident Evil Village you'll once again be in the shoes of Ethan Winters as Chris Redfield turns his life
Chris.
upside down.
Beh, è la continuazione del
Weapons,
7.
travel in packs, and you'll interact with villagers just trying to survive the day. I predict it not going well for them. This is going to be taxing on the engine if the demo is lurching already, so how could they offer a smoother experience? Producer Peter Fabiano did state that the demo doesn't feature combat or the blocking mechanics, so I'd imagine that this is their chance to show off the engine graphically, and it is quite
Guarda,
impressive,
tutti
but
con la mascherina a fare il
obviously they will
grafico.
adjust as necessary for the full release. And we'll get another look at what they do with a separate new
C'è per
demo coming
PS4,
sometime
non
this
lo
spring
so,
on
Julio.
all platforms. But back to Maiden. I opened talking about those 60 frames per second dips in combat, but you have to remember that nearly the entire Maiden demo does run at a locked 60 frames per second at native 4K resolution, which is incredibly impressive. But as Maiden doesn't feature a lot of action, it's clearly a technical showcase highlighting what they've been able to do with lighting, resolution, and art direction with a few scares here and there. I've seen this FPS issue brought to light by many on social media already, so how will they handle those dips? Well, during TGS 2020, director Morisama Sato
basta far vedere
pointed
sta
out
scena.
that he is more concerned with the moment-to-moment
Ci avete
experience.
fatto
stating
vedere
that he's
3
focused on
miliardi di
what
volte.
do I want to make people feel and win. To accomplish this, the plan is to work with the team to make the appropriate visuals to convey those things. The RE engine used here has also been used for Resident Evil 7, Resident Evil 2, Resident Evil 3, and Devil May Cry 5, but for
Devil
Resident
May
Evil
Cry.
Village and this Maiden demo, the RE engine has been optimized for next-generation consoles. I think we got a peek of what it can do with the recent Devil May Cry 5 push to 120 FPS on Series X and PS5. With that context, I'd imagine that for this demo, subtle dips to 50 frames per second are okay. Looking forward to those massive open areas, I'd imagine the team will utilize dynamic resolution scaling as they have in the past, and dip that base resolution down to
Che dici, sarà
1800p to
per
keep it looking as
PS4
nice
posso
as
fare il
possible while locking
preordine.
around 60 frames per
Io l'ho già
second. Devil May
fatto.
Cry 5 released earlier this year with next-gen optimizations that allowed it to push all the way up to 120 FPS, so I think that they can solve for this in the coming months. In addition to the frame rate, this demo also features other impressive qualities like subtle ray tracing, which can be noticed on the marbled floors, and according to art director Tomonori Takano, the lighting is completely different from RE7, which they take the opportunity to show off in the first area you'll see after escaping the dungeon. It's really quite beautiful and somehow still exquisitely sinister at the same time. The one aspect that caught me off guard, which I think is an easy fix, was the low texture quality on the doors. You'll notice it when you get close to them, and as they're a staple of the series, with danger lurking just beyond, I hope they get to address it, as they're currently looking a bit muddy. Other than that, the demo sets a lofty expectation for the full release of Village. For previous generation consoles, and noting
Resident Evil
original
7.
findings here, Resident Evil 7 targeted 1080p at 60 frames per second, and hit around 40 to 60 FPS. But the Xbox One X did hit native 4K at 60, with the PS4 Pro running around 1800p at 60 frames per second. Fast forward to Resident Evil 2 Remake and
Resident Evil 2
3 were
Remake,
both
il
able to
3
perform
di
amazingly
remake.
well and set a bar for expectations on those platforms. Village is developed with next-gen consoles and PC in mind, but the goal is to bring similar satisfying experiences to players on PS4 and Xbox One, according to director Tsuyoshi Kanada. With their history in mind, I would be surprised to see anything less than what they've already shown is their standard of quality. When it's all said and done, this demo really impressed me and gave me a good excuse to dive into all the Resident Evil Village trailers, learn more about the RE engine, and listen to what the developers have said about Village so far. Any engine that can push native 4K at 60 frames per second with ray tracing with HDR lighting is going to knock your socks off if the jump scares don't do it first.
Okay.
I cannot
Mamma
wait to
mia,
see
che
what
jump
launches
scare.
of the series. I'm your host Destin, and if you've watched this far, thank you for
Ciao
watching.
Edo.
For more on all things gaming, keep it right here on IGN.
C'era una vecchia. C'era la vampirona, c'è uno zombie anche. I Gin Massari. Non lo so, Julio. Gli ho inviato un messaggio con scritto che stavo iniziando, ma non lo sa, non la sa. Oddio, che cazzo è sta tigre? Non dirmi che coso. Oddio, mi sono dimenticato il nome. Lo sapevo io. Ma basta. Ci giocavo io quando avevo 13 anni. Little Big Planet è questo. Però in versione PS5. Io mi ricordo che ci giocavo sulla PlayStation 3. Ah, si può giocare anche in 2 giocatori. Questa cosa non lo sapevo, però non mi convince a rigiocarci perché non mi piace veramente, raga. È Resident Evil 9. No, grazie. Ci giocavo quando ero piccolo a Little Big Planet. Grazie. Oddio, contengono sangue, droga. Che cazzo è? C'è scritto drugs. È Spider-Man? È Spider-Man, signori. È già serie Marvel.
To change out here.
Eccolo qua il nostro Miles.
I'm late for Mom's rally.
Subway card. Check. You got the house key?
Yeah, I got it.
Raga, devono mostrare Final Fantasy XVI.
Come on! We're gonna be late!
Se non mostrano Final Fantasy XVI, cioè non... si devono veramente vergognare quelli da Sony.
Your suit? Yeah, you know, just in case.
It's gonna be fine. See, this is my favorite part of living in Harlem. Pop-up street fair, best food in the city, awesome music.
Cazzo ballano quei due là.
I should get back into mixing.
Yeah, it's been a while.
So what do you think about Rio Morales? You gonna vote for her?
It's still hard to think of Mom as a politician. She's been a teacher my whole life.
Similar skill sets, right? Corralling people, educating them, making sure they don't throw things at each other.
Ma siamo in perfetta live? Sì, sì, siamo in perfetta
I'm
live.
Brian Horton, creative director at Insomniac Games.
Che cosa mi
We're
devi dire
excited to show
tu?
you this first look at
Brian.
gameplay from Marvel Spider-Man Miles Morales. Our story picks up 1 year after the events of the first game, and we find Miles' new home, Harlem, is in danger. Trouble brews while Miles' mom, Rio Morales, leads an election rally. A war between the devious energy corporation Roxxon and the Underground, a high-tech criminal army.
Julio,
led by
sinceramente
the
non mi
T-Bird,
interessa
starts
di
to
The Last of
break
Us.
down.
Io
In this
voglio
game,
Final Fantasy
captured on
XVI.
PlayStation 5 hardware, the Underground attacks Roxxon, sending the rally into chaos in a fight that spills onto the Braithwaite Bridge, where the Underground tries to steal Roxxon's experimental energy source, Newform. Let's take a look.
Qua fa vedere il gameplay, non mi dire.
Let's not shoot each other, all
Vi
right?
prego. Mazza che caccio.
We're after the new form. Ignore everything else.
Non copiare Spider-Man, per favore. Che già ci potrebbe essere un continuo di Spider-Man, ho visto dei filmati segreti, ecco. Non so se sarà un futuro DLC oppure un altro gioco, ecco.
Keep him busy.
Fanno vedere il gameplay. Perché?
I have to stop this.
Ah.
People are trapped over there. I have to push past these guys. Where is he? Kill you.
Sono cose che abbiamo già visto. Penso.
No.
Eh. Sempre Brooklyn viene presa di mira, oh, sempre. Fateci vedere Final Fantasy XVI.
I need something they can cross. I can stop this.
Eccola. Be yourself.
PlayStation.
Basta Spider-Man, va rotto Spider-Man.
Spider-Man Miles Morales isn't just a port of the PS4 version. It's a
Ora
testament
arriva
to
Iron
what the
Man.
future of gaming can
no,
be
è
on the
morto.
PlayStation 5. Pushing Insomniac's proprietary engine with ray tracing at almost every turn, a
Cioè, è
nearly locked
uscito
frame rate across both modes, impressively detailed surface maps and textures, and
5
in
mesi fa e
fidelity
dicono,
mode,
e
it's
dicono
all
ancora.
edited 4K. Everything in Spider-Man Miles Morales shows that Insomniac hasn't been resting on
Cioè,
their
sappiamo anche un po' di
laurels,
cose,
and instead been
sappiamo.
pushing their engine's technology to the next level,
Abbiamo
putting the
capito che la
PS5 to
PS4
the
fa
test.
schifo e la PS5 è
Won it
bellissima, è
patches with
potente,
ease. This is my
è a
technical
tutto.
analysis of Spider-Man Miles Morales.
Basta adesso. Facci vedere Final Fantasy XVI.
It's been impressive seeing what the first games can do on these new consoles, and one of the newer pieces of technology that's getting a lot of buzz, and rightfully so, is ray tracing.
Niente
And
Final
in
Fantasy
Spider-Man Miles
XVI.
Morales, it is everywhere. It's on buildings, in puddles, on cars, and it's even turned on when you enter photo mode on the PS5.
This is crazy tech.
There is no escaping it on this next-gen console, and it's truly stunning. It does so much to make New York appear that much more breathtaking. The technology they used in the past was largely screen-spaced reflections, and it works well for the PS4 Pro, standard PS4, and even the performance mode. But when you start looking at the PS5 fidelity mode side by side with even the PS5's performance mode, you get an idea of what you're missing out on with it turned off. It does a tremendous job of making each scene pop.
Abbiamo
As a person who's always
capito.
preferred a higher frame rate, this is one game where you might find yourself truly torn.
Oh,
I've placed the
no. Cosa succede?
fidelity mode side by side with the 60 FPS performance mode here, and
Mi si è
slowed it
bloccato
all down
tutto.
to 20% speed to show the difference. There's
La
a true
PS5
fluidity
voglio.
that you simply lose out
Che
on when
dici?
zipping across New York City on fidelity mode. Selfishly, I want it all, but at the end of the day, this isn't a game where you need the frame rate to enjoy it. You should definitely give it a try for web slinging, but it drops the visuals like ray tracing while still keeping much of the impressive lighting improvements only available on the PlayStation 5. From my measurements, performance mode is doing a great job at keeping close to native 4K with dimensions around 1728p, and I found a few higher, so you're not losing much resolution for the frame rate. But ray tracing, when you're on the ground or in an internal area, it just pops right out and wows you. Here's what Insomniac's core technology director Mike Fitzgerald had to say about their 60 FPS performance mode and the choice it gives players.
So we have a temporal solution that we've used for a number of years, and yeah, it's a frame-to-frame
Mo
temporal
scrivo.
method, and we use lots of information about where things are in between the resolutions when they flip. So you don't notice it. What that lets us do is really prioritize the frame rate over the resolution. I think the performance mode can go up to
Ma che fate
just
fare un trailer di
under a
PS5
full
se
4K,
solo
and then,
4
yeah,
persone
down
l'hanno,
to the
eh.
1700s. We've heard so much of, oh, it's a really hard decision, but I think that's probably a good thing because it means we're giving different options for
Non
different
proprio 4
you know,
persone,
types of
però.
players you hear. Some people are like, I'm definitely doing the ray tracing thing, and others are saying, no, I'm definitely doing the 60 frames per second thing. So it's nice.
Puoi
SSR,
picchiare i
or swing-based
detenuti che stanno
reflections,
sulle
are still
strade
used
a
on all
non
the other
fare un
platforms,
cazzo.
and it's implemented quite well. One place all modes use that is on the water, and you'd have to be looking really close to see the reflections disappear in the distance as you're zipping past at
Che
7
inquadra il
miles an
culo,
hour.
che
And
cazzo
on
ha
Windows,
che,
the cube maps as you climb up are slightly
che ha il
more
culo che non
noticeable,
va.
as on occasion they won't reflect something like the giant Avengers building behind me. But again, you don't notice any of this unless you're making an analysis video like I am. So the SSR does a ton to make up for what you're missing out on at higher frame rates, or on older consoles. Speaking of frame rates, that same 33 millisecond and double frame issue crops up again, and it's present on all versions of Spider-Man, even the PS5 version at native 4K, and on performance mode. Here's what Insomniac had to say about this frame rate issue.
One thing we do is we're really careful about camera cuts. We want to make sure you don't see cloth pops and things settling and things popping in afterwards, or any of the simulation
Infatti ci
type
vedeva
stuff that you
qualcos'altro.
usually do frame to frame. We don't want to do the camera cut and then have things be in a bad state, right? So a lot of what we do is pre-camera cut, simulate all the cloth in the scene for an extra frame or two, you know, let some lighting settle
Spider-Man
and try and do it all behind the
17.
scenes before we show it.
Mi dispiace Giulio, non ci puoi giocare.
Some cuts in there where there's, you know, we've ramped up a lot of the amount of cloth we're using in the game and stuff like that. And I bet, I'm almost certain that's what is happening there.
And while you see these flutters in my analysis, it's literally one frame between camera cuts, and it's nearly imperceptible to
Ora
the
ci
gameplay
faranno vedere
on all
altri
platforms. The thing
36
that surprised me
minuti
even
di
more is that
Spider-Man
from the
che
base
salta.
PS4 up through the
Ma
PS5,
sì, ma
they've achieved an almost
appunto, cioè
locked 30 frames per
non voglio
second in
vedere
the
solo
web-slinging
Spider-Man,
open
cioè
world,
hanno
and if
fatto
you choose to
vedere
play at 60
10
FPS on the
minuti di
PS5,
Ratchet
it's going
Clank,
to be locked
5
at 60,
minuti di
and it's
Little
gonna
Big
stay.
Planet,
But
quello
if one
nuovo,
platform
e
struggles
mo,
to stay there,
faranno
there's the
vedere
PS4.
un'ora di
Color range seems to be
Spider-Man, di
quite
cui
reduced,
non me ne
and
frego
while you
ecco,
only saw
perché
minor
so
drops
già
that you
come
don't
andrà a
notice as you play,
finire.
but they're there, so I'm calling them out. Regardless, no matter what platform you would play on, it seems that Insomniac has
Dai,
pushed
che hanno la
every
stessa
pixel
grafica
they
su.
can to give you the best experience your hardware can offer, and that deserves kudos. If you're playing on the PS5, native 4K at 30 frames per second is simply stunning. Here's what Insomniac had to say about developing for the PS4 versus the PlayStation 5.
Yeah, so part of our work on this game was building in a robust sort of scaling system to have stuff run on all the different types of hardware. We have a lot of PS4 players on the base PS4, on the PS4 Pro, and we really wanted this game to be an awesome example of, you know, tech on that hardware as well, and not only look at the PS5. The PS5 let us do more dynamic lights, obviously the ray tracing stuff that it's been focused on, but really just more nuanced dynamic lighting in general. And our lighting artists spent a lot of time in there saying, okay, we can turn these ones on for the Pro and these ones on for the 5. And okay, we need to compensate with this on the 4 if we don't have that in. And then HDR comes up, you know, so there's all these different combinations of things.
Di differenza non ce ne sono.
To help them manage that.
Diving into some other technical aspects of Spider-Man, we can take a look at the character models on the PS5, which promise to have improved skin shading and spline-based hair.
Fatti vedere la figa di Ellie, ma
Actually, the fur
come?
coat that Miles has on the subway in the opening is a really good example of this.
Ma
That
sì,
actually
con ste
uses
cose
all the
Giulio.
strand hair, and as you watch him walk around, you can see all the strands simulated.
The city also has several improvements, including more characters on screen at any given time.
Raga,
and
mo
longer draw
saranno
distances. I was able to catch their LOD system in action at a few
minuti e
points, like on
minuti e
this
minuti e
long city
minuti e
street.
minuti e minuti e
Their
minuti
system
e
is quite
minuti di un
genius,
gioco che
actually,
è
as
già
they revealed what's going
uscito
on on the
5
PS4
mesi
version.
fa.
The further away you get from
Non
the
potevate
camera,
farlo
the lower the
vedere
level of
5
detail
mesi fa
gets for
tutta
everything.
questa
If you
roba?
happen to be walking along the
No,
ground and you
la
squint,
faranno
you'll notice
vedere
it,
quando
like
è
with
già
these
uscito il
photos,
gioco.
distance that
Madonna,
transforms
ora un po'
to a
la
higher level
tastiera.
of detail as you get closer. In addition, another genius tactic is how they delay loading the higher resolution items and things that aren't needed as you swing through the city. It's all delayed in the pipeline as you're swinging, but when you land, it all starts loading in, as outlined during their GDC talk. But as a normal player, you don't notice any of this happening, and that's by design. It's kind of the magic of what Insomniac does.
Non chiedo
The added
molto,
motion
fate
blur,
vedere il
chromatic
Final
aberration,
Fantasy
film
XVI.
grain, all works
Raccontate
together
di
to make
Final
the
Fantasy
game look more
XVI.
like
Mi
a film.
interessa solo a
And
me
now they've
Final Fantasy
continued adding
XVI.
to all that with ray tracing, improved character models, and new technology on the PS5 that allows them to expand what they can render in any given scene. And the loading times are next to nothing when compared with older
Dovete
platforms.
raccontare di più
So all
Final
that means
Fantasy
more
XVI,
textures, more people,
non
more
Spider-Man.
cars, more tech, and higher levels of detail.
Final Fantasy
in
XVI è
each
più bello.
I will say this though, no matter what platform you play on, even the base PS4, the game runs quite well. But the PS5 fidelity
mi
option
dissocio.
should not be missed, especially if you want to see everything an engine like this can do for an open world game. The frame rate option is also impressive. Insomniac nailed everything here. Spider-Man Miles Morales sets an impressive standard for open world games on the PlayStation 5 and all the other platforms. This is my second performance analysis piece for IGN, and I hope you liked it. I've been working to make better comparisons for IGN, so if you like this one, consider checking out my look at Gears 5 and the technology they've implemented to make it run at 4K 60 frames per second with the Xbox Series X. These take a ton of time and research for me to do, so with all honesty, just thank you for watching. Stay tuned for my next performance analysis across both next-gen platforms, where we'll focus on a certain Megaton shooter I'm sure
Ma
you
che
all
God of War? Voglio che fanno vedere Final Fantasy XVI. Finalmente è finito! Sì, sia ringraziato Gesù Cristo. Abzu, Abzu. Che cazzo è? Sì, di già The Last of Us 3. Posso dire solo una cosa? No, perché avvicino il microfono perché, cioè, devo dire. Ma che gioco di merda è? Cioè, seriamente. The Pantless. Chi cazzo se lo caga The Pantless? I Pantelas. 2019.
While supply shortages continue to restrict entry into the next console generation, those lucky enough to secure a PS5 have a solid launch window lineup to explore. To help you sort
Ma
through
Final
all the best
Fantasy
games
XVI,
currently available
ma
on
Final
the system,
Fantasy
that
è
includes
penoso
cross-generation and PS4 games
come
that look
gioco
and play
avete
even better
fatto
on the
16
PS5.
capitoli e
These are the
basta.
10 best
Julio
games to
ritira
play on
tutto
the
quello che hai
system.
detto di Final Fantasy, perché Final Fantasy è uno dei giochi più belli in assoluto.
Ghost of Tsushima on PS4 offers something for both players who have already played through Jin's journey and those who have yet to enjoy Sucker Punch's stunning vision of feudal Japan. Now running at a Sakai steel sharp 60 frames per second, Ghost's already thrilling combat has never felt better, and its unmatched photo mode is a joy to use. Plus, there's now the free Legends update to play through, which culminates in a visually striking and challenging raid that's one of the best co-op experiences available
Che
on
cazzo
the
è?
PS5
Tipo
at
una
launch.
sorta di...
Revisiting
God of
2018's
War.
God of War on PS5 is an absolute must, and if you somehow missed out on it on PS4,
Gioco
there's
che ho
no better way to
finito.
experience it for the first time.
Mi è
While the
piaciuto,
PS5 doesn't
però
offer all the visuals or add any new effects like ray tracing, the stable 60 frames per second it runs in on performance mode makes combat even more of a joy than it already was, though you will have to settle for the experience in 1080p. Even so, the action is still as satisfying as ever, and its world and story remain some of the best that gaming has to offer.
We're gonna fight that?
We have no choice.
While Sackboy: A Big Adventure forgoes the creation side of the Little Big
Sack
Planet series,
a
its
big,
focus on being a fun,
vabbè, coso.
charming platformer pays
The
off in a
Little Big
delightful
Planet.
adventure that can be played both solo or co-op. Sumo Digital's level variety keeps things fresh, so one moment you're riding a train through a moving level that has you occasionally jumping off to grab collectibles, while the next you're grooving through a level set to Bruno Mars's Uptown Funk. Yes, really. And as with most games we've seen on PS5, it's a visual treat.
So what you say? Ready to make history?
questo qua è il boss finale. Ci hanno spoilerato il boss
The
finale.
Pathless marries a simple but
Basta.
and completely engrossing movement mechanic with a gorgeous open world. Running, jumping, and gliding through developer Giant Squid's forests, rocky plateaus, and snow-capped mountains is a treat
Ma che
thanks to the
gioco
main
è?
bow and arrow gameplay relying less on precision accuracy and more on empowering you to carve a fun path.
È un
through
gioco
the
dove tu
terrain.
devi
It's a world
correre e
that
beccare
encourages
dei triangoli.
exploration and satisfies your curiosity, making the destinations you reach as fun as the journey itself thanks to a host of clever puzzles. Add in a handful of boss battles that are part epic chase scene and part Zelda-esque showdown, all backed by a moving
Un bel
epic story.
Final
You've got one of
Fantasy,
the
vi
most
prego,
intriguing launch
16.
titles on the PS5. Developer Young Horses
No,
continues
vabbè,
its
questo
in-service streak with
Bug
Bugsnax,
Snack,
an environmental
basta.
slash creature-based puzzle game that
Questo
has
gioco
snappy
penso che
photos
sia
and catching taste
il
buds.
gioco
Underneath Bugsnax
più
is
merdoso che la
Here
Sony
is a
abbia mai
heartwarming
fatto.
story full of ominous twists and turns as you try to rebuild a settlement by fulfilling folks' requests. Each returned resident means another person to interview for the story you're writing about
Questo
Bugsnax,
gioco è da
Snack
Nintendo
Island,
Switch,
and ultimately what happened to Elizabeth
non da
Butterfly, who invited you to the
PS5.
island to begin with. Its progression systems continue to pique our curiosity too, which makes the gameplay loop enticing throughout. And Bugsnax's big reveal, no spoilers we promise, doesn't disappoint.
Oh, baby, what a bridge!
Marvel's Spider-Man was already one of the best
Oddio,
superhero games
il
ever
remastered?
made, but the PS5 remaster elevates it to a new level. Insomniac's visual
Ah,
update brings the
vaffanculo
look of the
con
adventure up to par with
Spider-Man
Miles Morales.
coso
The
di
addition of ray tracing with 4K resolution and HDR
quello
support makes any time update so
2018,
beautiful that you'd
17,
be
non mi ricordo
forgiven
più.
for forgetting this wasn't running on code originally developed for the PS5. Add in the quality of life improvements Spidey got post-launch, new accessibility options, photo mode updates, and all the DLC episodes. This is the definitive way to play one of the PS4's best games. The DualSense is one of the most defining characteristics of the
Ah,
PS5,
Astro
as the
Playroom.
nuanced haptic feedback and strategically used adaptive
Non mi
triggers create a
interessa
level of
Astro
immersion that feels
Playroom,
genuinely special.
come cazzo si
Nowhere is that
chiama.
tech better showcased than in Astro's Playroom, which is quite literally designed to show off the capabilities of the DualSense controller. But this would-be tech demo is also a fantastic game in its own right, with a delightful set of worlds to explore that all celebrate a different facet of the PS5 and the different eras of PlayStation software and hardware. Astro's Playroom
Vabbè,
reminds
però,
players
dai.
why they love PlayStation while giving them a reason to fall in love all over again. Its solid platforming, fun environmental puzzles, and enticing set of collectibles will have you gunning for the platinum and
Ma
getting
non so
it
perché
in
hanno
no
cambiato
time.
Peter.
Assassin's Creed
Assassin's
Valhalla
Creed
has
Valhalla.
redefined the rules of the franchise yet again with the ability to sack monasteries, build up your budding Norse settlement, and uncover unique gear and powerful abilities. The PS5 beautifully captures the icy mountains of Norway and the bending rivers of England alike in stunning 4K, and the ability to travel between the war-torn kingdoms quicker than you can sound the horn for a raiding party remains impressive throughout. Bluepoint Games had some high
Demon
expectations
Souls.
to meet with the PS5 remake
Questo
games.
dovrebbe essere un
Not
gioco
only was it an
bello.
anticipated remake of a beloved and landmark game, but also the first major showcase of what a dedicated PS5 exclusive game could look like. Fortunately, Bluepoint delivered, and Demon Souls is not only jaw-droppingly gorgeous, but it's also
Demon
incredibly
Souls è un
faithful
gioco
to the source. It's
stupendo.
handling one of the deepest, richest, and most challenging experiences currently found on the console.
Prima posizione Final Fantasy XVI.
Though not a full-blown sequel, this standalone follow-up sends Peter Parker on vacation and leaves his young spider apprentice Miles Morales to look after New York. Building on the rock-solid foundations of Insomniac's first game, New York has been gorgeously graced with snow, holiday cheer, and next-gen polish. Our hero has a few more spider powers at his disposal.
Me lo stanno
than Peter
facendo
Parker did,
dieta
and these are
quanto me lo
cleverly
stanno
adapted
facendo
into
vedere,
gameplay
cioè
mechanics that, while they don't reinvent the wheel, they put enough of a spin on it to make it feel fresh. Sometimes literally.
E non vorrei odiare un gioco
It doesn't
bello,
feature as
però
lengthy of a campaign or as many colorful villains
me lo
as
stanno
2018
facendo tanti
Spider-Man, but
vedere
Miles
tante
Morales'
di quelle
story has
volte
just as
che
much charm and heart as its predecessor,
cioè
possibly more. Its tagline of Be Greater set a high bar, but Miles Morales somersaults over it with ease.
Demon Souls mai
Those are our
giocato.
favorite games to play on the PS5 so far, but we'll be updating our list
Ma
as
questo
more
ne
release this
altri.
year. For everything else PlayStation,
beh.
stay right here at IGN.
E so per PS5 Demon Souls. Niente Final Fantasy XVI. Mo mi fate incazzare. Che è? Cos'è?
You ever feel like you're just waiting for a sign? To do that thing you've always meant to do.
Ho capito. Ho capito che gioco è.
Sometimes I feel like I'm just standing on the edge of doing great things.
Ma
But something's holding me back.
ci sono dei triceratopi geneticamente
Maybe it's
modificati.
just
Questa è una
nerves.
donna papera.
Maybe it's the fear that I'll never be as good as what I imagine. When I'm still just
La
standing
donna
on the edge.
papera con le ali.
But if we've got nothing else to lose, might as well jump.
Perché? Perché? Che gioco è? Gioco del cazzo. Sti cazzi. Ecco un altro che contiene scene di sangue. Oddio, basta, basta, basta. Basta far vedere Spider-Man. Avete rotto, avete. Madonna. Basta, no, vabbè, dai. Ma mo si mettono a parlare. Fa vedere il gameplay e mo si mettono a parlare, di sicuro. Ora ci fanno vedere i giochi vecchi tra 22 minuti, quelli nuovi. Devo prendere, ma no. Mi faccio un cappio con il filo del telefono. L'ho anche finito sto gioco, dai. Cioè, basta solo vedere che arriva su PS5 e basta. Allora, per me basta solo che fanno vedere il gameplay, ma basta che non parlano, perché ci mettono l'eternità a parlare. Basta Spider-Man, fateci vedere Doctor Strange. Oh, a me non parlano. Meno male. No. Questa è la faccia di uno che è deluso. Perché questo è un gioco che non mi piace. Rip Humans. Cioè, è praticamente un mondo da abitati da robot. E poi c'è un gatto. Ecco cosa succede se compri dai siti cinesi tipo Wish. Succede questo. Buonasera, amo. Amo, scusa, stavo mangiando e ho visto la notifica. Non ti preoccupare, tanto ci vuole ancora 18 minuti. Stanno facendo vedere i giochi vecchi, stanno facendo vedere. Come cazzo si chiama? Stray. (2021) Ecco, Blood Gore. Addirittura al gore. No, Nio. Nio, no, Nio. Nio 2, Nio 3. È una compilation di tutti i Nio, in poche parole. Poi ho perso 40 minuti con te, ma non ti preoccupare, tanto penso di continuare ancora, penso. No, mi dissocio da Julio, da quello che ha detto. Chi cazzo era il venditore di Resident Evil 4? Era quello. Quello incappucciato. Voglio Final Fantasy XVI. Lo pretendo qua ora. Final Fantasy XVI. Non me ne frega, fateci vedere Control.
Remedy love time.
Control.
Bullet, travel, or otherwise. In Control, you
Control.
again can defy the laws of physics and even
Control.
time itself. But the last gen
Control.
engine was a hungry hippo on those base consoles. Now that brand new hardware has landed in the SX and the PS5, the shackles are off for some unbridled ray tracing or 60 FPS.
Control, Madonna, Control.
Yes. The question is though, how much pain for that gain? Let's find out. The three consoles in question all have one mode in common, a performance mode that targets a buttery smooth 60Hz update, double that of all console releases prior. The Series S comes in with 1600 by 900p target resolution, fixed and not dynamic.
Che live porti?
Now, unsurprisingly,
non lo so, devo vedere se continuare oppure no. Perché Just State of Play ci sto mettendo gli anni. E mancano ancora 15 minuti.
Temporal A8 reconstruction, it pushes that up to a 4K output, and we first saw this Temporal A8 in Quantum Break, but here, like other parts of the engine, it has been updated or tweaked for that next round of hardware. It has a great deal of weight to carry thanks to the game's art style and its strong
ma l'ho provato anch'io Control.
Tones, thin lines and abundant SSR or ray traced reflections. It delivers a confident equilibrium of maintaining texture detail sharpness but reducing the sub-pixel temporal stability, even in movement, something you do a great deal of. It's not the best we've seen, with some areas becoming quite noisy and they can break up worse.
Dopo questa live, dopo questa live che fa la PlayStation, penso di andare un po' su Fortnite a fare le sfide perché non le ho ancora fatte.
In Glass, you notice that delayed trail as you move the camera and that resolution breaks down to its base, and then when you stop it catches up and that previous frame converges with the current frame into a fuller, cleaner object. Something similar in the rasterized image also that uses that temporal AA to reconstruct the image back up to 4K.
L'autovoce mi sta già sul cazzo. Cioè questi qua continuano a parlare, non capisco un cazzo. No, Julio, devo fare assolutamente le sfide di Fortnite, cioè sto per arrivare al livello 200. Io sono qua che mi sto rompendo il cazzo perché questo qua parla da mezz'ora di un gioco che non mi piace. Scusate il termine, ma cioè devo farlo. Che palle, oh. Ah, ste cuffie mi stanno facendo male alle orecchie in un modo assurdo. Aia, che male. Cioè, fa vedere un riflesso di merda. No, raga, però ci mettono troppo, ci mettono troppo. Ma leggiamo un attimino i commenti delle live. FNAF, sì, sono arrivati. GTA 6, sì. CR7. Demon Slayer, mo, sì. Mo lo mettono Demon Slayer. Smash Bros. Minecraft 2. Guarda, tutti a commentare FNAF. Ma... questo deve uscire, Final Fantasy XVI. Quello lì sì che deve essere un giocone della Madonna. C'è una scritto PS5, muoviti. No, amo, non penso che uscirà Demon Slayer. Cioè, hanno scritto qua tra i commenti principali, cioè, da live, e non hanno detto niente. Zero. State of Play tra 10 fottuti minuti. Io devo stare qua ad aspettare 10 fottuti minuti. GTA 6 10.000. Fortnite capitolo 3. Oh mio Dio. Ma questi qua sono pazzi. Sonic, Fortnite 2, Days Gone 2, Minecraft 2, PS6. È vero. Come si chiama? House of Ashes. Dovrebbero fare quello. Però ad ottobre, raga. Cioè, non penso che faranno uscire. Cioè, perché nel 2020 c'è stato. No, 2019 o 2020, non mi ricordo. Vabbè. C'è stato. Come cazzo si chiama? KFC console. È vero! Chi dicevano che c'era la console del KFC che ti faceva il pollo fritto? Sì, certo. Undertale 2. Among Us. Io vorrei Ape Escape, amavo quel gioco da bambina. Non so come... che cos'è. Little Hope, ecco, hanno fatto uscire Little Hope, mi sembra ad ottobre del 2020 e mo questo ottobre del 2021 dovrebbe uscire House of Ashes. Mario. Cioè, guarda, è tutto inerente a Control. App Escape hanno detto. Porcaria. Guarda, si stanno tutti alla... Little Nightmare 3. Fatti uscire subito Little Nightmare 3. Lost the Game. Picciola. Perché? FNAF. Fucking FNAF. Sì, Red Dead Redemption 3 mo fanno uscire. Già che ci siamo, fate anche uscire FIFA 22. Se fanno Fortnite, no, mi dissocio. No, Little Nightmare 3, no, vi prego. Sì, voglio il Little Nightmare, bellissimo. Splatoon Fighter Dead 2 Ring. Stranger Things 4. Resident Evil 4 Remake. Ma che? L'hanno già fatto? Oh no, non mi ricordo, ma penso che l'abbiano già fatto. The Last of Us Faction 2. Ciccio Gamer 89 Best Italian Player hanno commentato. Oddio. Minecraft 3. Undertale 2. Super Smash Brothers. Dai, mancano pochi minuti. Demon Slayer. Bloodborne. Cioè, guarda. Tutti a dire FNAF. Perché? Uncharted 5. Cioè, guarda, tutti si stanno lamentando perché stanno parlando di Control. Control. Dark Souls 4, sì. C'è già Demon Slayer. No, che Demon Slayer, come si chiama? Demon Souls. Ormai mi sono fissato con l'anime. Rieccotiamo. Come cazzo ho scritto PlayStation? Giovanni un sotto di Nightmare 3, ma che dici Giulio? Doom. Un minuto. È vero, un minuto, raga.
Has a factor on the game.
Sentiamo
So
sto
if
qua
you take
che
the
già mi sta
comparison
sulle
earlier in
palle.
photo mode,
Però
that had no load on the game at all, just general ray tracing and rasterization loads. Perfect GPU test. And
lui
this is the
dice,
thing about the
se
game,
vuoi
it's a
vedere la
great
state of
example
play,
of
vai
how
in
these
un'altra
two
live a
consoles
romperti i
actually differ and
coglioni.
strengthen in different areas. You can lose 16, maybe 20% in ray trace modes on the PS5, but you can lose exactly the same 16-20% in these points when it's loading data in and out in combat.
Vatti a fare una
And it's quite
pisciata.
refreshing to see a game that enables us to get a good view into the hardware and how it's
Prenditi
constructed.
una pausa.
But generally, that 60 FPS mode on all consoles is
Manca un
the one
minuto.
that I would choose. I'm not a big fan of the art style. I think it's a bit dull. I don't think it utilizes the ray trace reflections very well. And it's one of
Fate
the
vedere il
reasons why I
trailer di
wouldn't recommend the
Spider-Man
ray trace
No Way
reflections
Home.
for me, because I don't think they stand out unless you're staring into the screen and looking at them. But if you are a fan, I think there's a secret third option here for Remedy to just turn on, based on our tests previously between the consoles and
Dai,
PC.
che mancano
I think
pochi
it's
secondi,
perfectly
dai,
capable
dai.
capable on both machines, with likely a very similar performance metric to that rasterization mode. But if you want
Ma
to
te lo
run around,
ricordi
shoot
Happy
things, pick
Escape?
objects
Dici a
up,
me
and then
amo,
check your
perché
lippy,
se
it
me lo
might
dici a
be the
me
perfect compromise to
è
get the
un
most
no.
out of Control.
Perché io
If you like this and
giocavo,
these
che ne
deep
so,
dives into this
tipo
performance analysis
per
across
PS2
consoles and that
giocavo
powerful
Kingdom
PC,
Hearts,
then obviously
Kingdom Hearts
keep
2,
it IGN. I'll catch you on the next one.
Devil May Cry, Final Fantasy. Oh, finalmente ci siamo. Finalmente 0 0 0 0 0 0 7 4 8 16 18. È il nuovo gioco, si chiama PlayStation 5. Crash Bandicoot. Ma è Crash Bandicoot 4. Ma è Crash Bandicoot 4.
But there's lots of awesome updates and additions coming to the Crash Bandicoot 4 It's About Time experience on PlayStation 5. Hey everyone, I'm Lou Studdard, creative producer at Toys for Bob. I'm here to give you the feature rundown on Crash Bandicoot 4 on PS5. That includes 4K at 60 frames per second,
Buonasera false
adaptive triggers,
o
3D
falsi
audio, and more.
come
Let's make this fun.
Picking up where Crash Bandicoot Warp left
hai
off,
cambiato nome,
Crash Bandicoot
ecco.
4 It's About Time. We find the evil masterminds Neo
Era il
Cortex
gioco
and Dr.
quello
Entropy
con
escaping
le
a
scimmie che avevano
inescapable
un
interdimensional
lampeggiante in
prison, leaving
testa.
giant holes in the universe. What follows is a mind-bending
No amo, non
adventure
mi
for Crash
ricordo.
and his marsupial
Non mi
pals.
ricordo proprio.
We designed Crash Bandicoot 4
Giocavo
to
altri
leap
tipo
off
di
your
giochi,
seat,
tipo
brand
della
new
Square
with
Enix,
bold, vibrant environments and characters. Crash Bandicoot
Resident Evil, ecco, giocavo solo a questi in poche parole io.
in native 4K at 60 frames per second. With the weight of the universe on your shoulders, and probably some errands to run, there's little time to wait on loading screens. The DualSense wireless controllers bring adaptive triggers to your fingertips, so you can feel the blast of Neo Cortex's DNA-changing
Con
ray
Cortex puoi giocare
gun,
anche.
grip when you grapple a ton of hook shots.
Questa cosa non la sapevo, che potevi giocare anche con Cortex.
Jetboard, and really feel the suck when you vacuum his dingo dial. Looking to get fully immersed in the Crash Bandicoot universe? Crank it up to 11 and take your audio into an all-new dimension with enhanced 3D audio. Achieving the infamous 106%
Ah va bene, quindi tipo so chiamare sempre Sean, ok.
Should our genetically mutated marsupial lose
Anche
his way,
amo.
leverage PlayStation 5 activity cards to track your progress and hit your goals for things like time trials, flashback levels, and boss fights. I bet Entropy wishes he had that. Even bring your incomplete save over from the PlayStation 4 and use the activity cards to get to 106%. Oh, and one more thing. If you own the PS4 version of the game, an upgrade option is available. Check out the PlayStation blog for full details. Whether it's your first playthrough
Come
or
cazzo
your
lo
100th,
cavalcava
there's
quell'orso?
no better time to experience Crash Bandicoot 4 It's About Time on PlayStation 5.
Sì, ma già era per PlayStation 4, figurati se per PlayStation
Welcome
5.
back, Crash. The gang's all here on today's new edition of State of Play.
Non
We've got some great
parlate.
updates lined up for you.
Non parlate. Non stateci 3
First,
ore.
let's check out the latest on an eagerly anticipated game coming to the PS5 console this spring from PlayStation Studios.
Hey everyone, we at Housemarque are excited to give you this sneak peek at Returnal. In Returnal, you will play as Celine, an Astra scout, who crash lands on an alien planet, Atropos, after
Dai,
receiving
l'hanno
a
fatto vedere anche
mysterious
prima
signal,
questo.
White Shadow. Players will explore this inscrutable, dark planet in search for answers and unfold mysteries, which may point to a larger force at play.
L'hanno fatto vedere anche prima questo, dai,
Dashing
non è
and quickly
possibile.
maneuvering your way above and around enemies is key to survival in Returnal.
Ma un bel Final Fantasy XVI no? Che bellissimo. Ma cos'è Alien? Non lo so che cos'è.
With the large variety of enemies and the vast
Di
number of
sicuro
unique
sarà un
movesets
gioco che
each
non mi
possess,
interessa
combat
perché
situations
voglio Final
prove
Fantasy
challenging no matter
XVI.
what the circumstances are. Death is only the beginning.
Un po' minchiata.
Every
Devo
time
dire la
you
verità.
die and restart, the world will change. The map will be different, enemies will appear in new locations and in differing numbers, so you have to think fast and adapt. Here you can see the use of the lightning alt-fire, which is great for crowd control. This is one of many alt-fires that you can acquire in the game. You will stumble across mysterious devices that can grant rewards to the player. These will vary from weapons, consumables, and upgrades, and they can completely change your playstyle and make each cycle feel unique. Besides the intense combat, Returnal also has a deep and engaging narrative. We allow players to piece together the puzzle that is the story
Ma
of
fa
Celine
cagare
as they
Final
venture
Fantasy un
deeper
torneo di
and
giochi
deeper into
insieme.
Atropos
No,
and
voglio,
into her
voglio.
personal nightmare.
Bannatemelo dalla live. Bannatemelo dalla live.
That can't be here.
Bannatemelo.
I think I am reliving my memories in that house, but not fully. They're corroded. Some parts are missing, others seem manufactured.
È diventato Alien Resident Evil messi insieme.
There's no comfort here. No safe space.
Poi c'è un jumpscare.
Exactly as I left it.
C'è vita in questa casa, signore. Returnal. Un gioco che
Returnal
tutti
lands on
diranno.
April 30th, and it's developed by the talented team at Housemarque. Next, let's take a closer look at a high-impact new PS4 game called Knockout City.
Che cazzo è? Ma hanno fatto vedere anche sulla cosa di
I'm Josh
Nintendo
from Bella
Switch.
Studios. We're an indie developer based in upstate New York, and we
Ma
recently announced
basta.
Knockout City, a team-based multiplayer action game for PS4 where rival crews settle
Ma
their
rotto
scores
il
with epic
cazzo.
dodgeball battles. Knockout City is easy to pick up and play, but there's a lot of depth here for those who've got the skills. In our 1v1 face-off mode, you'll go head-to-head in a constantly shrinking battleground,
Che gente,
relying on
non
your
piace
reflexes and
Fallout
abilities to
come
knock out
fa
an
non
opponent.
piacerti
A
Fallout.
well-timed catch powers up the ball,
Non
making
è
it
che non
easier
mi
to land
piace.
it.
L'ho giocato, l'ho finito.
Use trick shots to lob a ball over a ledge or hook it around a
E
corner.
solo che la storia è
Fake a
lunga,
throw to mess up your
immensa.
opponent's timing and knock them out before they can recover. When you're in a tough spot with a ball flying your way, a last-second
E mi
dodge
sono
is the
rotto il
difference between
cazzo,
getting knocked
cioè.
out and staying in the fight. Keep your wits about you and outplay your opponent to bring home a win.
Cioè, visto che è una storia tipo
Let's
lunghissima,
jump into Team KO, our 3v3 mode.
ho detto no, grazie.
Teamwork makes the dream work in
Però l'ho
Knockout City.
finito.
If your crew is outmatched, a well-coordinated team can still dominate. We're playing in Back Alley Brawl, a new map that you'll find in our upcoming crossplay beta. The special ball for this match is the Sniper Ball, which locks onto targets from far across the map and wham! You can take them out before they have a chance to react. Beyond special balls, each map features a unique mechanic.
Cazzo è?
Caught empty-handed? You can literally become the ball, a new weapon for your teammate. Or risk it all. Charge up a teammate, launch them high into the air with an ultimate throw, and they'll land in a huge instant KO explosion. The team here at Velen has been obsessed with building this world over the last 4 years. Knockout City is coming out May 21st, and we'd love your help in our final stretch of development. Rally your crew and sign up for our crossplay beta at knockoutcity.com to play early on PlayStation. See you soon, brawlers!
Io non gioco tanti giochi di Nintendo Switch. Gioco sta Mario Kart 8 e Super Smash. E già che su Super Smash dovevano annunciare Sora di Kingdom Hearts, invece no.
Time for something new. Here's your first look at an upcoming PS5 game from the team
Ma che
at
sono sti
Slowcraft.
giochi? Guarda, sono giochi di merda. Come no, Julio? Ci metterei meno tempo a finire Cyberpunk che Fallout 76. Muovi il culetto Tandaga, agita il petto Tandaga, gira il bacino Tandaga, ritorna bambino Tandaga, inizia a sudare Tandaga, non ti fermare Tandaga, comincia la festa Tandaga, cretino chi resta Tandaga. Sì. Ma la smettete? C'è anche in State of Play fanno vedere giochi che non hanno senso, fanno cagare.
That was the debut of Sifu, coming to the
Sifu,
PS5
guarda
console
che
later
gioco di
this year.
merda.
Now let's get an update on Solar Ash, an epic
Ecco,
new
Solar
PS5
Ash, un
adventure
altro
from
gioco.
Heart Machine.
Fa cagare. È il buco nero di Fortnite. Sì, Julio, fatto, già tutto fatto.
Hey everyone, I'm Alex Preston, creative director of Heart Machine. You might know us as the team behind Hyperlight Drifter.
Avete rotto il
Today,
cazzo, non
I'm here to
dovete
show you the
parlare.
first peek at gameplay for the
Statevi
new title,
zitti.
Solar
Che cazzo è
Ash.
successo poi qua?
Solar Ash is a huge, stylish 3D platform.
Ho toccato qualcosa? Che cazzo me ne frega, andate a fanculo.
Known as the Ultra Void, which has been consuming everything in its path. You play as Ray, a daring Void Runner who has decided to venture into this terrifying anomaly as a last-ditch effort to
Questo è
save her
Kung
homeworld.
Fu
Ray is
Panda
extremely
versione
agile,
uomo.
able to skip across the world with abilities akin to skating. On the Ashen Clouds, she can quickly cover great distances in our huge world. At its core, Solar Ash is a game about movement, and Ray has everything she needs to flow through the dangerous and unique world.
C'è FNAF, McDonald's.
As you journey to save your planet, you'll find yourself face to face with grotesque and violent creatures. Our combat system is simple, fast, and fluid, built to empower players and encourage flow.
Sì, sì, sì. Guarda, preferisco
As you explore
qualcosa
the
che
Ultra
parli del
Enemy
McDonald's
encounters
piuttosto che sta
scale
merda.
to greater and greater sizes. Some of these creatures require speed and precise timing to defeat. Ray will eventually need to face the massive sentinels of this void, starved beasts.
È uscito un pisello da quella spada. E si è anche bloccato.
Solar Ash is Heart Machine's vision of the adventure platformer. The giant spaces, the feel of movement, the flow of combat, and the high-stakes battles atop enormous beasts all come together to
Sto
bring
capendo
players
tutto
something we
quello
think is
che mi
incredibly
stanno
unique
dicendo.
and more
Sì, sì, anche
importantly,
io.
fun.
L'edificio della Sony deve fare 11 Mi dissocio. E mi si è bloccata. Guarda, si rifiuta anche il mio PC di vedere sta merda, su.
Everyone on the Heart Machine team, we're excited.
You're small, pathetic.
Che minchia è?
You want more? Are you ready?
Si è bloccato. Cioè, guardate. La mia wifi fa troppo schifo. Non so cosa sta succedendo.
Won't stop hunting you. No.
Mi sono spaventato.
Stop hunting you.
Lo compro subito.
That was a chilling new look at Five Nights at Freddy's Security Breach. Up next, let's take a tour of Oddworld Soulstorm.
Hi, I'm Lauren Lanning, Creative Director at Oddworld Inhabitants. Today, I'm going to take you on a brief tour of our newest game, Oddworld Soulstorm.
No, basta Soulstorm. Basta Soulstorm.
In Soulstorm, you reprise the role of Abe, accidental hero turned unlikely leader of an emerging revolution, as you do battle through weird and wonderful environments in an effort to escape the all-powerful and eternally greedy Gluckons. We really wanted to bring this world to life with what we call 2.9D platforming, which adds much more depth and immersion for the player. This sense of connection is also reinforced through the use of the DualSense's haptic feedback, as you'll now be able to feel Abe's heartbeat in high alert and suspenseful situations. There are well over 1,000 fellow Mudokons that you must try to save along the way. But they are far more than helpless workers looking to be saved. When used effectively, you'll be able to solve puzzles, harness their combined energy, and be given the tools they need to fight
fate vedere
alongside
Final Fantasy
you. And there will
XVI.
be times when the extra hands will be needed as you face off against an array of heavily armed enemies that will stop at nothing to find and end Abe once and for all. In order to stand a chance against
Viva
this
la
much
Square
larger
Enix.
threat, we gave Abe the ability to scavenge, loot, and pickpocket items from his surroundings and use them to
Ciao,
craft an
Sean.
impressive arsenal of his own that he can share with others. You can also play as a non-lethal pacifist or an agent of chaos. We wanted you to have the choice. But there is one iconic ability for our shamanic protagonist, Possession. This mystical power allows you to take control of your foes and use their strengths and weapons against them, or use them to gain access to paths still ahead. The
Brawlhalla 2.
Oddworld universe is a diverse place, and this means that there are some environments and
Mi sono
situations
preso
that
il post
require a
battaglia
little
di
more
Brawlhalla.
thought, patience, and stealth. You'll find dark and dangerous caves, heavily guarded industrial sites, and ancient forgotten lands. Here, we've built lots of opportunities for you to test your skills and find different ways to handle things. It won't be easy. If being hunted by an army backed by a shady and wealthy organization isn't bad enough, there are also more dangers in the forms of natural obstacles, ancient traps, trials against swarming dark creatures, and industrial hazards that must be dodged, crossed, and avoided. Ultimately, Abe's journey is one of hope, freedom, and truth. There's a rich and engaging narrative
Ma
to
ci credo
discover
perché
in
gli
a
Avengers
world full
fanno
of lies,
cagare, fanno.
and we've been able to bring our characters to life like never before. In true
Final
Oddworld
Fantasy
fashion,
per
your
sempre,
actions
Square
in-game
Enix
will decide the
evviva.
fate of Abe and all those you manage to liberate along the way.
Viva la
And
Square
we can't wait
Enix.
to see what you will do.
Che hanno fatto Kingdom Hearts.
That was the latest on Oddworld Soulstorm. And here's some exciting news. Active PlayStation Plus members will get the PS5 version for no extra cost, starting in April.
Non posso,
Moving
voglio.
on, it's time to catch up with Kena Bridge of Spirits, a gorgeous new adventure we last saw in the June PS5 showcase.
Veramente il gioco degli Avengers faceva cagare. Ora voi mi dovete spiegare che cos'è sta roba. Però lui è carino, mi piace.
The rats seem quite fond of you. They're usually timid.
Devo vedere Julius e farla.
Did not come to our village looking for forest creatures.
Hello, Spirit. I seek passage to the Sacred Mountain Shrine.
Our village is bound to the shrine's energy. But that power faded long ago. Trapped spirits linger here, tangled in the tragedies of our past. We must help these spirits if we wish to reach the mountain shrine.
It's okay. You have to go now. This land can be weird, but you cannot stay here, Spirit. You must move on.
Io sono la volpe senza occhi. Ci potete dare la PlayStation 6. Sì, mo te la faccio. Sì, mo te la fanno vedere la PlayStation 6.
Path of a spirit guide is a lonely one.
Agosto del 2021. Oh, le
Now let's settle in for
orecchie.
a stylish new look at Deathloop, a PS5 first-person shooter developed by the team at Arcane.
Non lo so, Julio.
What?
You'll never, ever break this loop.
There's no never here. Just you.
Deathloop.
And the rest of these maniacs.
Deathloop.
Bring it, baby.
Altro che giochi nuovi. Qua fanno vedere i giochi che
This is Ramblin' Frank's Matinee. This little ditty goes out to the handsome asshole trying to break our loop. Cold. The visionaries are ready to dance. Are you?
Altro che fanno vedere giochi nuovi. Qua fanno vedere giochi che hanno già fatto vedere. Vedi una cosa, sti giochi fanno cagare. poi Final Fantasy XVI non mi dispiacerebbe. Fallout 5, sì, ma...
Where you been hiding? Boy, do I got a bone to pick with you.
Let's do it again tomorrow.
Non ti preoccupare. Non ti sei persa granché. Sono tutti giochi schifosi questi.
Song's over, people. And so is Ramblin' Frank. The rest of you motherfuckers are next.
Before we leave, how about a huge update for one of 2020's most celebrated games?
Final Fantasy VII Remake. Almeno qualcosa di Final Fantasy hanno fatto vedere.
Now it's my turn. Got to leave the force right here.
Sephiroth, guarda quanto è bello Sephiroth.
A touching reunion.
Well, guys, your girl finally made it to Midgar.
Questo sì che mi interessa, raga. Qualcosa di Final Fantasy.
My name is Yuffie, Materia Hunter and Elite Special Forces operative for the new Wutai government. We'll prove to our common enemy that Wutai is not to be
Dov'è
trifled with.
Tifa?
Members of Avalanche, we got this.
I'm back.
Ah, there you are. Someone's been expecting you. What took you?
Sorry about that. Anyway, it's nice to meet you. I'm Sonon Kusakabe. Where's Cloud?
E qua lì Tifa.
What?
He will be okay though, right?
Well, of course he will.
They're the ones who blew up the reactors. Cool. Should we say hi?
No, better not. After what they've done, you gotta assume Shinra's on their tail.
Look, a Moogle!
Stop! We gotta help.
Posso dire una cosa, che io non ho mai giocato a Final Fantasy VII Remake, ma ho giocato a Final Fantasy VII per PlayStation 1. E diciamo che Final Fantasy VII per PlayStation 1 è molto più bello. Perché quel coglione di Roxas? No, vogliamo insultare Roxas.
Whatever it is they're planning, you're better off out of it.
They deserve what's coming to them.
Yeah, they do, but I'm not your sister.
There you are.
Who are these jerks?
No clue. It just appeared.
Bellissimo. Ah, è integrato. Oddio.
Let the hunch begin. Get down here, Merc.
Eccolo qua Cloud. E qua fanno vedere il gameplay. Quanto è bello Cloud. Ah, la grafica da PlayStation 5. la stessa cosa. Non cambia un cazzo. Ma che schifezza cos'è? Ah, mo mi banni Ulioti un attimino. No, perché sto vedendo un gioco bellissimo, ecco. Non si insulta Final Fantasy. Quality of life. Beh, per forza, ma è uscito prima per PS4 il gioco. Episodi. Questa non lo sapevo.
You see that?
That's how ninjas do it.
Yep.
No, non mi fermerete.
Io forse sì.
That was the reveal of Final Fantasy VII Remake Intergrade, coming to the
Come
PS5
cazzo ha
console
detto?
later this
Final
year.
Fantasy.
And that's our show. We hope you're as excited as we are for what's to come in 2021. See you next time.
PlayStation.
Va bene. E tu
There
che
you have
cazzo
it,
sei?
the first PlayStation State of Play of the year. And here to break down everything we just saw is the first next-gen console watch of the week. I'm Damon Hatfield, and as always, I'm joined by host of our PlayStation podcast, Jonathan Dornbush.
You really threw me for a loop there, Damon. I did not know how you were going to.
Ah, così tiene già il pupazzo di Kingdom Hearts
And
dell'Heartless.
host of IGN's Xbox
Lui
podcast,
sì che è un
Podcast Unlocked.
intenditore con la sinistra.
I'm having a little bit hard time hearing
Con la
this right
sinistra
now.
è un intenditore di
Whether you're watching this
controcoglioni.
live right now or if you're watching this when the show normally goes live on Friday mornings,
Perché è un
we are going to
intenditore,
react
no.
and break down everything we just saw from the State of Play, which seems to be mainly focused on smaller games, not too many bigger, large AAA games in there. There's going to be a PS5 version of Final Fantasy VII. We got a little bit more of a look at Deathloop, which is coming up in just a couple months. The rest is a little bit smaller stuff, which isn't necessarily a bad thing. But there wasn't
Allora,
anything
già
about
che fanno
Horizon,
vedere
Forbidden
un
West,
pupazzo
God of War, or
dell'Heartless,
even Ratchet and Clank, Rift
già mi
Apart,
fa
which is
pensare a
coming up in
Kingdom
couple months.
Hearts.
So, Jonathan, let's begin with you. What
E
was your sort
impazzisco.
of takeaway from this State of Play, first State of Play in a long time? What was your first reaction?
Yeah, there's definitely a couple, I think, competing thoughts there for me about how little the first-party side of things was there, and we can get to that in a second. I will say I'm very glad the last 6 or so minutes of the State of Play was there, because honestly, for the first 2/3 of it, it wasn't really connecting with me. I was definitely a little let down, I think, about the the collection choice there. I think not even maybe pointing to some of those big games, even if they weren't going to be in here, pointing to some of the Ratchet and Clanks of the world may have not been the worst thing to do, to say like we'll be showing you some of those more soon, but in the meantime, here's a look at this. Especially given we just saw Knockout City at the Nintendo Direct last week, and things of that nature. I think Solar Ash, excuse me, looks really great. That's from the Hyper Light Drifter developers. That looked really great. Opening with Crash was a little strange, given that we know it's coming to PS5 already. That was announced a week or two ago as well. But at least for me, in the end, Kena, Bridge of Spirits, Deathloop, bringing us basically a James Bond opening of its own, and ending on Final Fantasy VII Remake, coming to PS5 with a seemingly sizable chunk of new content in there that we can dive into. Definitely the latter bit of it really excited me, but man, the first 2/3 of this kind of made me feel the same way I felt about the Nintendo Direct last week, which was, I don't know if we quite needed this event.
Interesting. Ryan, I would love to get your take on this state of play from an Xbox perspective.
Sure, I hope you can hear me at this point.
Sure
but,
can.
Great. Yeah, I actually feel we didn't talk at all, the three of us, during this. We just all watched it here, and I feel exactly the same way as Jonathan. I thought that was mostly pretty underwhelming. I thought the highlight was, unfortunately, a game that's not coming out the longest. This was Kena Bridge of Spirits, which kind of gives me some Ori vibes, but if the camera were like right down behind in Ori, the game looks fantastic. Deathloop, you could see a lot of really neat arcane DNA in that too, with Dishonored and such. So that was pretty fun. But yeah, it was kind of a snoozer for the most part. I mean, in terms of like big, crazy new announcements, but hey, it's always nice to have new games. And by the way, I will say, kudos to Villon Studios, the Knockout City folks. They were in the Direct last week and the State of Play, so that's like a major notch on their belt. So they should be that's about the best publicity you can ask for your game, right? So their PR person should probably get a raise.
Hopefully there's an Xbox event they can jump on pretty soon, just to complete the trilogy.
Microsoft announce an inside Xbox. Let's do this and get
well, let's dig into some of these games that we saw today. Jonathan, I imagine you must be pretty excited about a proper PlayStation 5 version of Crash Bandicoot 4.
Oh, of course, yeah. Of course, I reviewed that game when it came out on PS4 last year, and it was one of those. It came out, I believe, in September or October. I want to say, forgive me, time passes by strangely these days, but it came out right on the cusp of the next gen launches, and so it was one of those ones, especially as a longtime Crash fan, I was hoping for a next gen version, now a new gen version, and I'm very happy to know it's here. It's coming in March. We had gotten the announcement about this already, so it wasn't a huge surprise, but to see it run, to know that they kind of confirmed the 4K and the 60 frames per second, all that sort of focus is great to me, because this is definitely you need to be pretty precise with your platforming, and so I'm happy to see it coming to next gen. It will be on Xbox Series as well. But I think the biggest thing for me with this one is I loved the game. The load times on PS4 are pretty rough, and so I'm really hoping those can kind of be chipped away at with the PS5 version. That's honestly what's kept me from going back to trying to platinum it, is that it takes a little bit too long to get into some of the gameplay.
Now, Ryan, you flagged a potential issue with this. I think Sony said there's an upgrade option available for people who have the PS4 version of the game. What does that mean to you?
I'm glad you brought this up, because this was a theme of this entire State of Play, which was, wait, so are these upgrades free? Are they paid? What's the deal? And you got to tip the cap to Microsoft, because they came out early with Smart Delivery. We're going to have this thing called Smart Delivery. It is opt-in. Not every publisher or developer necessarily has to do it. It's not a mandate, but it's there. So if a game has Smart Delivery, then guess what? You're just going to get a free version, on the upgrade there if you go from the Xbox One to the Xbox Series. But with PS5, it's just every game you literally have to read the fine print, which is what our handy executive editor of tech, Bo Moore, who's kindly helping out behind the scenes here, went during the stream to the Crash Bandicoot, to the PlayStation blog, to find, and it says, to upgrade the PlayStation 4 disc version of the game to the digital PS5 version, you'll need a PS5 console with a disc drive. Owners of a PS4 disc copy must insert it into the PS5 every time they want to download or play the PS5 digital version. Users in Japan can upgrade for 100 yen. So there are most of the games
$1.
So most of these games today, it did seem like the fine print was yes, there is a free upgrade now with Final Fantasy VII. The remake, the new stuff is a paid episode. Even if you are doing you get free upgrade, but then you got to pay for the new thing, which makes perfect sense. But again, it's just unfortunate that Sony didn't kind of do their own version of smart delivery and just kind of lay this out in a very clear and concise system level way.
It creates all this weird wording, as you were saying, Ryan, because when they announced Crash for Next Gen, a week or two ago, and I covered it as a news story, I had the press release, they say, like, you can upgrade at no cost except for in Japan for some reason, and, laid it out pretty simply, but because there is that disc and diskless drive version, specificity there, because it's not just sort of the branded thing as Xbox did. In the trailer, it almost made it sound like, watching the state of play, even though I knew it was a free upgrade, when they said that, I was like, wait, is it not? I'm confused now, which shouldn't be the case, especially as someone who knew what the actual information was.
Yeah, Jonathan, can you help me make sense of this? To upgrade the PS4 disc version of the game to the digital PS5 version, you'll need a PS5 console with a disc drive.
So basically, if you have a digital version, you'll just download the digital PS5 version. But if you bought Crash on a disc for PS4, you're still entitled to a free upgrade, but you need to put that disc into a PS5 to be entitled. So basically,
what if you have a digital edition of the PS5?
Then you can't. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. That's been the case since launch, unfortunately. It's been this weird back and forth where, essentially, if you want backward compatible games but you love physical, I don't know why you bought a digital edition unless it was the only thing available, but yeah, you pretty much, if you bought a physical version of the PS4 game, you need a physical way to use that disc to get the PS5
preferisco più la Disney.
Yeah.
All right, let's move on to what Sony rightly described as one of the biggest games of 2020. It's what they decided to close out their show with today, and that's Final Fantasy VII Remake. There's a PS5 version coming. What's that date? June 10th. That one's coming, and it's called Final Fantasy VII Remake Integrade. It's getting upgraded visuals, improved textures, lighting, background environments.
Non
c'è load times, added photo mode. There's a new episode featuring, I hope it's pronounced Yuffie, because there are 2 Fs. That's my guess. I played. Is it Yuffie? If it's Yuffie, I don't know why there are 2 Fs.
I've been told it was Yuffie before, but in the trailer she said Yuffie, so it's quite confusing.
Let's stick to
Where's Poe when we need him on the show?
The clearly established laws of the English language. It should be Yuffie. This is nice, Jonathan. I think this is nice to have, but to me it feels a little self-indulgent when we still have absolutely no idea when the next part of Final Fantasy VII Remake is coming.
I'm used to Kingdom Hearts getting Kingdom Hearts final mixes and then 2.8 final chapter prologue editions that remaster older versions. This is par for the course for me for a Square Enix JRPG of this sort of size and caliber for them. So I'm not totally shocked by it. It is a bit funny. I think the name Remake Integrate is wonderfully silly. It's about what I would expect. But it's nice that this will be an upgrade sort of situation with the base game. As Ryan was saying earlier, I get that it will essentially be a paid bit of content for the additional episode that includes Yuffie. My guess is that is to help tide over because part 2 is probably a little further off than we would hope. I'm not anticipating it being 5 or 6 years away, but 2 to 3 feels a bit more safe than end of this year or early next year. I'm not anticipating part 2 in 2022.
Now, Jonathan, correct me if I'm
wrong.
Per 5 secondi mi hai recitato. Exclusivity coming to an end here by the time this game is out, and so is this coming to Xbox Series as well? Is there fine print on that?
So the year of exclusivity was over essentially with whenever the release date for Final Fantasy VII Remake is up. Whatever. March or April, and so. They never said, though, whether it was to other consoles or just to PC or if we'll have this weird staggered rollout. Theoretically, that means this could come to those other platforms. I'm honestly scanning as we speak Twitter and the PlayStation blog and Square Enix to try to find out the exact info. But as of right now, we only see it tied to PlayStation. Of course, if Remake comes to other platforms, I don't know what they'll do about free upgrades and everything, but I'm keeping an eye as we speak to try to figure this out.
Well, I have to admit, I was kind of rolling my eyes through the Final Fantasy VII Remake integrated presentation, but then Yuffie/Yuffie's friend Sonon said, "That's how ninjas do it," and all was forgiven. I was totally on board.
Sì, perché se parlo di Kingdom Hearts.
That one's also going to be a free upgrade. Same deal as Crash. If you have the disc version on PS4, you need to have a disc drive PS5 because the disc needs to be in there.
And it looks like, if I interpreted the trailer correctly, there is a performance mode or a 4K mode, but it didn't seem like you're going to get 4K 60 on this. It seemed like that was a choice if I was interpreting, which is fine. I mean, some people, you know, just want to choose one or the other, but it's a shame that a last gen game won't get both.
Let's move on to Deathloop, another one of the bigger games that was part of the show, and a game that's going to be out in just a couple months, 2 or 3 months. This is a game, it's a PS5 console exclusive from Bethesda that's now owned by Microsoft, or soon to be owned by Microsoft. This is a game that Sony has trotted out many, many times, and I feel like people still are having a hard time wrapping their head around what this game is. I feel like Sony's having a hard time building interest in this game. I don't know, Jonathan, am I off the mark there?
I mean, at least among the people I've talked to, I think everyone kind of gets the hook of it being a time loop first-person game, especially once you mention Arcane. People kind of get a sense of a little bit of probably how it'll play based on Dishonored. I mean, the thing about Arcane is, especially with Dishonored, you know, they've all been critically well received. I think the first Dishonored sold pretty well, but Dishonored 2 didn't, I think, meet expectations. Death of the Outsider, I don't think quite was a major hit or anything. So Arcane has always kind of been this like critical darling, and I feel like we may be getting into that same sort of situation where I think Deathloop has all the makings of being an awesome game. Like every time I see it, the art direction, the style, the characters, like everything about it, I want to play this game. I just don't know if it will translate to sort of a mass hit, especially because I do think once you get into the finer details of like, it's an assassin versus assassin game where you're stuck in a time loop that also has this art style that's very reminiscent of classic Hitchcock posters and also James Bond themes. Like it's all these different disparate things that I think all sound incredible, but I also don't think are easy to elevator pitch people on.
Yeah, Jonathan, Arcane is like the platinum of the West at this point, right?
Yeah.
Like just stylish, gorgeous, just, you know, 90 Metacritic games that have just not sold as well as they deserve to.
Yeah, like I have no doubt that I trust them to make a great game. I think there's nothing that I've seen that makes me worried about what this game will be, but I do worry about sort of its like crossover potential, I guess. Like I think it will probably, especially in May, when kind of everything is coming out for the PlayStation 5 audience, you know, this one will probably get a lot of attention. And I think that looks really cool, but it's also one of those things where this game is predicated on mystery, on not revealing too much about the about the player learning about the world as they're immersed in that time loop. And so when you do have a thing predicated on mystery, it's kind of hard to sell too much of that. I think this trailer was honestly the best look at it just because of how fun it was. Like, it doesn't really tell you too much about the game other than it being a first-person shooter. But to me, at least, this trailer, because of the awesome song that was playing, it essentially was a James Bond intro. Like, that sold me, honestly, even more than past looks have. This made me go, okay, I'm in for this. This is going to be fun.
Ryan, is this something you wish you'd be playing on your Xbox Series X in May?
And I guess maybe in a year from now, because I think that's the deal with this and Ghostwire Tokyo. But yeah, no, I'll play on my PS5. This is definitely, it looks super fun. And you guys made a good point about how they've shown pieces of this, but never. I still think I agree, they haven't shown the whole package well. That having a tough time kind of messaging the whole thing, because we've seen previous looks at this game have kind of made the roguelike element clear about it. Like, okay, you're going to keep trying over and over. This trailer did a great job of showing the combat, the actual, again, kind of that you could see that Arcane, that Dishonored DNA in this game. But this trailer didn't really focus much on the roguelike element of it. So, but nevertheless, I agree with Jonathan. This was the best look at this game because it it looked super
Guarda,
fun.
la PS5 è tenuta in
Also, just
disparte
to
là
circle
sopra.
back, as far as I can tell, Square Enix is only referring to FF7 Remake Intergrade as coming to PS5.
Sure.
Even on their official tweets and everything, there's still no mention of any other platforms. So keeping an eye there. But yeah.
Yeah, I think that was out in March of last year, so the year of exclusivity should be coming up pretty soon. But as for Deathloop, the good news is that we're going to have an inside look into the game as part of IGN FanFest on day one this Friday. Our own Michael Swain is going to be interviewing the game director and art director. They're going to be giving us an inside look at Deathloop, and that is at 9:15 a.m. Pacific this Friday, 12:15 a.m. Eastern. So please be excited to learn more about what's going on with Deathloop.
12:15 p.m. Eastern. Yeah, like lunchtime. We have it wrong in the notes there. It's not.
We have it wrong in the notes. Go F yourself, San Diego. Okay. Jonathan, Returnal is a game I know you've had your eye on. Can we reveal what you have
Not quite yet.
coming up?
No.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
10 more minutes.
I know.
Forget any mention of that. Anyway, we did get to see another a nice look at Returnal today, and I was impressed with what I saw. It's out April 30th, and it looks completely different from anything else that Housemarque has made, which is made some really cool games, but smaller scale, sort of arcadey stuff, like high score chasing stuff. And I was really impressed with the visuals here. How about you?
Yeah, I think it looks gorgeous. It's I feel like it definitely has the spirit of a Housemarque game because this is something that they talked about back after Nex Machina came out in 2017, where they had a blog post basically saying arcade is dead, and even when these games are critically well received, people just aren't buying them, so they've moved on. And I think you can definitely see some of the arcade DNA in the combat here, absolutely. But as you were saying, it feels like a more AAA, more ambitious production. It's going to have definitely some roguelike elements. So apparently PS5 is the place to be for roguelikes right now. But the creature design looks really gross and interesting in ways that I'm really excited about. And then we get a little bit of the taste of, there is clearly some story to it that's going to be ongoing even as you go through this roguelike loop, as we see Celine, who is the astronaut that you play as, going into this house sort of in a first person perspective that we've seen a bit before, that just appears on the alien world. It's very mysterious and creepy. It looks a lot like the PT house, which is definitely a way to get PlayStation fans interested for sure. I'm totally down for it. Like, I trust Housemarque on a gameplay level. This seems to be the most they've done on a story level, and it's definitely a more ambitious scale than before. It's another one like Deathloop. I can imagine it's maybe a little bit hard to sell, especially as a new franchise, totally not necessarily based on anything else. But my hope is this one comes out as well as past Housemarque.
Magari vedere dai video non è così tanto bello.
Roguelike is the correct way to describe
Forse
it. It seems like they're building in a lot of story elements too that you'll slowly reveal with each new run, much like Hades did, which I think helps soften the blow for a lot of people who don't like hardcore roguelikes where you just you start out from scratch, go back to square one every single run.
Yeah.
Ryan, have you gotten to experience any of Housemarque's previous work, like Resogun, Super Stardust, or Dead Nation?
A little bit of Resogun back at the PS4 launch when everybody at IGN was just playing all the launch titles on both the Xbox One and the PS4, and that was an excellent game. This one, you can clearly see the production value on the screen. I mean, they're taking it to the highest level of this studio, this already talented studio has ever taken it, and I think we were talking about like Critical Darling, like these guys, Housemarque definitely fits that mold. Housemarque, they've never made a bad game, to the best of my knowledge. So odds are that this will be very good to great, even more better than that. And hopefully people will be willing to give it a look. I mean, depending on, did they give a release date for this one? Yes, April 30th. Yeah. So that's actually, that probably bodes very well for them because we are in the usual post-console launch drought right now, where there is almost nothing, especially what we had Hitman in January on the Xbox. There was the Medium,
10.000, anzi
really,
l'infinito. Due volte infinito.
It's pretty quiet
7.
until there's a big month coming up in May, and then a couple things,
8
big
volte
things for
infinito.
PS5
11
in June. So April 30th should
tirato un numero e io le dico.
some eyes just from some gamers hungry for
tipo è che 4 più 4 fa 11. L'ho imparato ieri a scuola.
big month of May, I think. And then there was Sifu, a new game that was revealed from Devolver, I believe.
Ormai sono
in
funzioni.
Absolver, is that right?
Yes, yeah.
Absolver and Devolver. That one's out later this year, and that one looks very cool to me. It looks like a Dame game for sure.
Ma è una cosa non reale.
Immediate reaction was, oh, it's Hallway Fight, the game. That's
So
how it
che è un
starts, but I think
gioco
there's more to it than
fantastico,
that. To me, it
bellissimo,
seems like
però
it's a
non
brawler,
compete
but
con
they're sort of trying to recreate the feeling of
la
the modern
ragazza che
day
amo di più.
brutal martial arts film like The Raid and The Raid 2, which are
E
super up my
scusatemi se ho
alley.
questa voce, ma
Jonathan, how did this one strike you?
Yeah, this one looks really
il
cool.
sonno mi
It's
sta
you know,
prendendo.
especially coming from the Absolver team and their knack for combat. I'm very excited by what that could bring to this. But yeah, I think the initial reaction is very much like,
Julio
oh,
non
someone
CD.
really loved the
Tutto in
Daredevil
digitale,
hallway
spacco la
fight
play.
scenes, and as you were saying, the Raid and whatnot, and put that into a game. But that's also not a bad elevator pitch. But yeah,
Sure.
this one looks really great. Obviously, hand-to-hand combat is certainly something that we've seen a lot of in video games before, so I'm excited to see what they can bring new to it. And we actually have a pretty in-depth interview piece up on IGN that you can read right now that Matt Kim on our news team did with the development team to get a little bit more info on it.
Cool.
So a little bit about the inspirations for it, what they're hoping to do with the gameplay, etc.
We're also seeing the different ages of the character here too. So I don't know. This could be another die, rinse, and repeat roguelike game. I don't know. That seems to be the theme of recent PlayStation 5 games. Ryan, I'm sorry to say that one has been announced for PS4, PS5, and PC.
Well, it was a state of play after all. It wasn't an Xbox showcase.
But Ryan, I think there is another game that you do have some experience with, Oddworld Soulstorm.
Yeah.
And that one's coming soon on April 6th, and that's what I'm really excited for.
And you should be, I think. This game's been around the block a few times on the preview circuit. I played this game 2 years ago. Yeah, whatever. Before the last real E3. So I guess that was 2019. And it's very fun. I mean, it's a proper Oddworld classic sequel, I should say. Mm-hmm. And the cinematics are stunning in this game. The regular moment-to-moment graphics are pretty darn nice too, and there's a lot of just really neat platforming elements here. I was really glad to see a release date, and not just any release date, but a pretty recent one that's coming up very soon, April 6th here, because my initial reaction when this came on the State of Play was, I've seen this like 17 times already, and not just me, but this has been featured in various conferences. In fact, I think it was at the last PlayStation conference, if I remember correctly. It was it's been out there a number of times. Glad it's coming soon.
Devo riposare gli occhi.
Yeah, I've been on board with this series since Abe's Odyssey, way back on the PlayStation 1. It's interesting that at that time, this was supposed to be the next evolution in like cinematic platformers. And I think it's cool that they're still carrying that torch today in 2021. Their term was 2.9D platforming.
And what was even... Oh, go ahead.
I would just say games like Inside and Limbo can trace their roots back to the original Abe's Odyssey.
Yeah, and speaking of, we were talking earlier in this show about the foggy nature of the upgrades from PS4 to PS5. Well, here's a game that it was really cool to see. Oddworld is just, if you have an active PlayStation Plus membership, this game will be free on launch day. So that's really cool.
And then at the top of the show, we mentioned both Kena and Solar Ash. I know, Jonathan, you said you were excited about those. Kena's got a little bit further out release date, August 24th. Ryan, you said this one gave you some Ori vibes. What's the sort of elevator pitch for this one, Jonathan?
So this one it's the first game from a studio called Ember Lab, who people may know from a very, very awesome sort of fan-made Majora's Mask animated video that went viral a few years back. This is their first crack at an actual game, and essentially you'll be taking the role of Kena in what looks to be sort of like the trappings of a third-person action game, but it's got this really, really beautiful, I think, sort of marriage of Miyazaki's Pixar sort of animation to it, in 3D, of course, but it's got a really, really beautiful.
The dance are you.
It looks beautiful every time we see it, and we saw some really amazing creatures this time.
Cool. Well, Ryan and Jonathan, thank you for joining me for a little recap of the state of play today. I want to deliver some poll results from our last episode, but our document has grown to such epic proportions. Here, I think I found them. The question we asked you last time was, have you experienced any DualSense drift issues? And 44% of you said, I'll get back to you when I get a PS5. So, sorry, I know there's a lot of you out there still don't have one.
Okay,
but 43% no problems at all, which is good to hear. Only 10% said they had received or experienced any difficulties. Thank you for joining us. Thank you to both Ryan and Jonathan. Hope everybody enjoyed the State of Play. We'll be back next week, 6 a.m. Pacific on Friday, 9 a.m. Eastern for more Next Gen Console Watch, and we'll see you then.
Come, thanks for watching. No. No, FNAF, seriously. No, aspettate. E poi c'è Rosco, va bene. Dobbiamo parlare un po' di cose. Allora, stanno facendo uscire Deadloop, Final Fantasy VII Remake per PS5, poi due giochi a cazzo di cane che non conosco nemmeno e di cui non mi ricordo neanche il titolo. Quindi la live finisce così, con 6.000 spettatori. Potevo andare alla Play. Non dirmi che alla Play hanno fatto vedere più di una cosa. Hanno fatto vedere la stessa cosa. Hanno fatto vedere la stessa cosa qua anche.
And that's our show. We hope you're as excited as we are.
Ah no, finiva qua, quindi. Quindi finiva qua. Vabbè, sono andato sui Next Gen. Hanno spiegato un po' più di roba. E poi qua c'è la mia live. Non me ne fotto un cazzo di FNAF. Posso sbattere la faccia sulla tastiera, tanto per divertimento. No, perché sta live mi ha annoiato più di non so cosa. Sta la live della PlayStation, ovviamente, cioè di quello che hanno fatto vedere. E non hanno fatto vedere neanche Final Fantasy XVI, ma vabbè, sono dettagli. Quante notifiche mi sono arrivate, mio Dio. Non so che di. Non so che di. Voi che dite? Io posso dire solo una cosa. Faccia sulla tastiera. E niente. Io nulla. Vabbè, che c'è da dire? Non c'è da dire assolutamente nulla, perché tutti i giochi che sono lerci, lezzi. Fatemi un attimo le cuffie che... Aia. Ste cuffie mi hanno fatto male le orecchie. E niente, dai. Io penso di staccare qui, perché sta live m'ha tramortito. Cioè, giochi proprio schifosi. Cioè, quasi quasi meglio la PlayStation 4 che quella 5. Cioè, perché sulla PlayStation 4 ci hanno fatto uscire giochi belli, Kingdom Hearts 3, Final Fantasy VII Remake. Invece su PlayStation 5 hanno fatto uscire giochi che a parer mio fanno cagare, fanno proprio ribrezzo, fanno proprio schifo. Fatemi mettere la modalità Be Right Back, ok. Mi sbaglio, la mia stanza è un poco più luminoso di prima. Fatemi un attimo alzare dalla sedia che è da più di un'ora che sono qua. Anzi, 51 minuti. Ma va bene, ma va bene. Nel mentre che io stavo in live si è caricato pure il telefono. Fantastico, raga. Cioè, il telefono caricato è la cosa migliore. Mi dissocio da Julio, da quello che ha detto. Raga, fammi qualcosa, guardiamoci qualche video su YouTube. Qualche prova a non ridere. Qualche prova a non spaventarti. Qualche prova a non piangere, no, prova a non piangere no, perché sennò potrei bagnare tu, cioè al lago camera mia al lago. Camera. Al lago camera mia al lago. Fatti vedere cosa trovo su YouTube, va? Via dalla mia vista State of Play perché non dovevi vedere. Ok, siamo qua nel mio coso di YouTube, che qua ci sono tutte le mie ricerche e stronzate e cazzate varie. Amo il video di Blur. Non so se posso farlo vedere in live. Non lo so, non lo so. Raga, mi è venuto in mente di fare una cosa. Mi è venuto in mente di fare una cosa. Aspetta, aspetta. No, non questo. Oddio. Cioè, ma proprio così? Mamma mia. Mi si è bloccato YouTube. Oh. Mi si è bloccato YouTube. Ma niente, oh. Ah, boh, farò vedere un po' di quello che ho fatto qua, aspettate. Poi non so veramente come l'ho fatto, ma l'ho fatto a culo. Col Keyblade normale. Contro Xion. E lo voglio rivedere perché è veramente una clip bellissima. C'è gente che non ha preso danno e l'ha fatta a livello 1, io l'ho fatta a livello 100 invece, però col Keyblade. Ma poi piangiamo insieme. Oh, voglio. Ma che state qui? Combattimento, oserei dire spettacolaris, spettacolaris.
Time to end this.
Soprattutto ragazzi, la canzone è una delle mie preferite, le canzoni di questo boss. E quando non sai cosa fare, sgancia la fusione furore, perché è l'unica cosa che puoi fare. Guarda che non gli fai un cazzo di danno a Xion. Invece se butti fuori l'ultima weapon non gli fai danno, cioè la stendi proprio. Oddio, qui fa, cioè, come proprio Non mi ricordo più come si dice. Perfect timing con la musica mentre mi attaccava. Però è più forte di tutti è Yozora, raga. Yozora non lo batte nessuno, Yozora.
Ready, Sora?
Cazzo c'è una puntina, raga, mi sono punto. Ah, fanculo, c'è una puntina, che male.
Now you'll see. Let it rain.
Ma qua si rischia tutto. Ale. Mamma mia, è fortissimo.
It's supposed to be.
E dopo sta clip io vi abbandono qui. Ok, dai. Ragazzi, io stacco qua, io vi ringrazio sempre per essere stati in mia compagnia, anche se abbiamo visto qualche gioco da play di quelli che abbiamo visto anche molto prima, anche se alcuni non me li ricordo bene, però sono già giochi che abbiamo già visto. E niente ragazzi, dai, io stavo qui alla live, spero di aver fatto divertire e niente ragazzi. Noi come sempre ci vediamo ad un prossimo video o ad una prossima live. Ciao ciao gente.